Welcome to episode 94 of the Lowdown Radio Show, presented by eBay Motors. I'm Neil Graham. This week I speak to Emily Roberts, a woman I consider a friend who is just as wonderfully mad as her flaming red hair would lead you to believe. Emily's story is compelling for a few reasons. Firstly, her family business is the last standing motorcycle print magazine in Canada, and Emily is a full-time motorcycle journalist for it. Secondly, she's a hardcore off-road rider. How hardcore? Her recollection of racing in Baja is probably not a tale you want to listen to if you're dining. Emily is also, from the age of 11, a riding instructor, and she gives me tips for trials and trail riding, and she slips in a cautionary tale of aggressive cacti and what to do if you've eaten bad Mexican seafood and feel the urge to fart. And stick around at the end of the show where I'll show you the essential tool for customizing your motorcycle. But first, this message from eBay. The worst part about loving cars might be just buying them and all the parts. From Toyotas to Aston Martins, eBay has thousands of cars and the largest online selection of vehicle parts and accessories. eBay. Things people love. Emily, you and I grew up in very different families. My mother hated motorcycles, and you grew into a family business. So what was your first exposure to motorcycles?
Wow. Yeah. Right when I was born, I suppose. My father built a wooden motorcycle for me so that when I was born, I could sit on a motorcycle and he would push me around on it. So
the splinter cycle, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, of course, your parents, were they running the magazine Motorcycle Mojo when you were born, or was that still to come?
It was a little bit later on when I was around 8 years old. My father at the time when I was born was a auto mechanic and worked at a Honda shop. And then my mom owned a graphic design company. And so once I was born, my dad learned how to use computers, swapped over to the graphic design business to help my mom. And they ended up owning two companies before they started the magazine.
So you grew up essentially from eight on involved in the production of a motorcycle magazine, which still exists today. We're going to talk about this in a moment because you are the last print motorcycle magazine in Canada.
That is correct.
And there's only a few left in the States. So you are everyone says they're dying. So I'm interested to learn how you guys have kept it going. We'll get there in a minute. But what are some of your memories of your first exposure to motorcycles? Because it was a family business too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I remember first learning how to motorcycle. My dad tried teaching me when I was 6 years old, and that ended up with tears and temper tantrums. Having a loved one teach a child how to learn isn't always the best idea. So
that's been my experience.
Yeah. So luckily, we did live in Ontario, close to Clinton Smout's school for motorcycling and for off-road riding. So my parents took me there, and I soon became very obsessed. My first bike was a 1979 Yamaha GT80. So it was a really fun bike to learn on. Having the newer bikes were all semi-automatic for mini bikes at that point, pretty much. And so having a fully manual clutch bike to learn on when I was 6 was really good. And it also broke a lot. So I became very efficient at learning to ride the bike, learning to bump start the bike, ride it without a clutch, ride it without a gear shifter. It was fun.
Trial by fire. So yeah, no automatic clutches. Like I guess the kids, these soft kids today have those PW50s and so on, don't they? When they just, or is it my first ride? Actually, you had a tougher start than I did. My first ride was a Z50 Honda.
Oh, see, that's nice. That's the fully automatic, right?
Automatic. I think it was like an automatic 3-speed.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the PW50 is great. Completely automatic. You don't have to really deal with anything except for putting it into run and start. But yeah, all my friends had bikes without clutches and could just shift gears. And I was always fiddling with my clutch. My clutch cable would break. I'd snap the clutch off. And then it was kind of a semi-automatic by that point, once I had broken that off. So
Right.
yeah.
that poor motorcycle. But as you grew into your teens, obviously you became more aware of what your parents did for a living. And I think with any of us, what your parents do is just inherently not very interesting. At least that's what most kids
Yes.
think. Were you the
Yeah.
same way?
Yeah, I don't think I really comprehended to the full scope of what my parents did, or even the impact that they seem to have on the community. Because over these, well, we're 25 years old now. So over these 25 years, my parents did a really good job of kind of understanding what they felt was missing in publications, and just trying to offer something a little bit different. But I never realized that. I never really took an interest in the magazine. I never thought that I would work for them. I never thought that I'd be skilled enough to work for them or to write for them. And so I actually grew up, I started teaching dirt biking when I was 11, with Clinton Smout, just as a part-time job throughout summer. And then it kind of took over. And that's what really kept me out of trouble and out of partying throughout my teenage years, was teaching dirt biking, because I had to be ready to ride at 8 a.m. every morning. And then I don't think it was until I was about 18 or 19 that I had done my first big motorcycle trip. And leading up to that, I had gotten inspired by articles that my parents were publishing, and realized after I did this big trip, I went from Ontario up to Alaska and back when I was 18, and then realized that I could maybe write about it and people might find it interesting. And they did. And that was kind of the start of taking an interest in my parents' business and understanding that this might actually be something that I can work with. And it'd be really fun to work with my parents and see just kind of how much influence they have, and be able to experience that myself.
Now, you say fun to work with your parents, which is not a combination of terms that a lot of people would use. And I know your parents pretty well. I know your dad better than your mom, but Glenn and Gwen Roberts. Your mother's a smiley but stubborn force, I suspect.
Yep.
And your father's a little bit more laid back. At least this is what it looks like from the outside. So, no, maybe not. Okay.
I mean, he's editor in chief. The amount of times that I've pitched him ideas, and he's like, "No, I don't like it. It's not going to happen." And rightfully so, because I am a little bit one-faceted these days with motorcycling in terms of off-road and adventure riding, and
we'll get to that. Yeah,
we have to have a bit more diversity, I suppose.
So how did you? So at what point? Because you were full-time at the magazine.
No, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. At what point did you make that decision? Did it just seem did it grow sort of organically, or was there one of those heart-to-hearts with the folks saying, "I want to join the business," or how did that happen?
It was a little bit fateful. So at the time, I had been managing a snowmobile tour company in Revelstoke, BC, and was working on the summer operations, bringing in dirt bikes and side-by-sides. And I ended up leaving that job in, I forget what year it was now, 8 years ago. I ended up kind of just leaving that job. It wasn't worth it for me anymore. And at that time, my parents had 2 or 3 staff members that stepped away, and they were looking for one person to help out and replace and transition, at least until they found somebody new. So that all happened at the same time. And so I stepped on with them just to help out and kind of get an understanding of it. I thought that it would be temporary while I was finding a new job, and they thought it would likely be as well before they found somebody else to work for them. And then that evolved into a full-time job. And it has been really interesting working with your parents, especially, I mean, they're your parents in a lot of senses. They're my idols and they're my bosses as well. So understandably, handing in work to them can be very, very tough at times.
Let's talk about the motorcycle magazine business for a while, because I was the editor for 7 years and worked for almost 12 years at Cycle Canada magazine, which was the sort of oldest, biggest magazine in Canada for a long time. And Motorcycle Mojo, when it came, and we didn't really take it seriously. It was pretty folksy, and it has a folksy element that remains to this day, which is part of it. and it was a small, and nobody really, as I said, nobody really thought that they would be the last magazine standing. So the magazine that I work for has collapsed. I think it's online only, but it's certainly not nearly what it was. And a lot of other magazines have gone by the wayside too. So I guess the question that we all like to know, and of course the same thing in the US, it's different in the UK. There's still very much a strong culture of magazines.
I love that. Whenever
which
I look at the magazine stands, and
I know, I lament that too. But in the US, there's very few. We were just talking before we started recording, and we were Roadrunner, and we are pretty sure Ryder may or may not be printing. I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
We're not sure about that. But it's certainly, that Cycle World and motorcyclists would have gone. I mean, Cycle World at one point had 300,000 subscribers.
It was huge. I mean, it was a massive publication. And I think as smaller magazines, we always kind of looked up to that magazine. It had stood the test of time. We just expected it to always be there. It was a staple of the publication industry in motorcycling.
Take us to Baja. So what was the event? And this is something you'd wanted to do for a long time, I presume. And then you had to, as you said, you couldn't do it in 24, so you bumped it to 25. Take me through that event. Yeah.
So I had first found out about the event from my friends at Ride North Moto, who do some rally stuff. And I had taken a rally course, a road book course for a day with them up in Fort McMurray and with Willem Avenant, who is a Dakar racer. And we had talked about doing the Baja rally. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I've got this. I've heard that it's a great rally. The one thing that multiple things that I like about it, but the biggest thing for me was safety. And I really appreciated that they didn't allow ATVs or side-by-sides in the race. So it was just a motorcycle race. So it kind of adds a bit more of a level of safety for beginners, because you're not competing with 4x4 vehicles on the same roads that you are with motorcycles.
I don't explain that to me, how that works. Is the risk that you get run over by some yahoos in a side-by-side?
Yeah. I mean, you see it. It's happened a few times in different types of rallies, and it's part of the inherent risk that you take when you're racing with other vehicles. But it's sandy and dusty in the Baja. And so you don't have great visibility sometimes. You can't tell what's coming up behind you, or if you crash or something and there's a vehicle behind you. It just creates a heightened level of risk that I felt for my first rally. I wanted to avoid that at least. So I got a Cove 450, a Cove 450, however you want to say it, Cove. Cove.
I never know how to say it. I was hoping you could help me out with that.
I say Cove. And if anybody wants to yell at me for that, that's fine.
They'll write in. They will. Trust me, they will.
So I decided I wanted to race that bike. I had thought about that bike for a long time, actually, since we had done the road book course, and I was riding a Husky 501 that whole day, and the most I could get it up to was about 120 in deep sand roads, and before it started to really bobble and kind of feel unstable. So then I tried out the Cove 450 and I got on it, and within 5 minutes I felt really good, and I looked down and I was going really straight and just felt really confident, and I was doing 135 without even trying. And I'm like, well, I think this is the bike I want to use.
Interesting.
And I'm really happy with that choice. So we had Jordan Strachan was driving down. He's a Dakar racer and won the Maui Moto class in Baja Rally in 2024. He was heading down with a couple of other Canadians, so I dropped off my bike to him. And then I met him down there in San Diego with a couple of our other buddies. And we spent a day prepping the bikes and going through all of our race tech and just our checks to make sure that we were good to race, had all the gear, and our bikes were in good working order to race.
And then how is it? What's the distance? What the number of days, distance per day, that sort of stuff? How does that?
Yeah. So this is a 6-day rally. They've had this 6 days. They've done it for, I'm not too sure, 4 or 5 years now. And then before that, They had a 4-day and a 3-day, and I believe it started off as a 2-day rally. But over the 13 years that this race has been going, it's built up to a 6-day rally. And so the distances per day would range between about 190 kilometers to, I think our longest day was supposed to be just over 400 kilometers. And so I didn't really have a concept of what this was. Still, I knew I've got my bike, I've got a road book holder, which a road book is going to go in, and I think I remember how to read a road book. But I kind of thought, there's a lot of people going ahead of me. I'll be able to follow tracks for the whole day. I'll just double check with the road book and it'll be easy.
Let me guess, it wasn't that easy.
I might have overlooked the navigation just a little bit.
Right.
I think the first day, so there was a very sneaky waypoint the first day, like 4 kilometers in, the first or second day. And anyways, I missed that. Just didn't even look at my road book, missed it, got a time penalty for it. So throughout the first day, though, I learned that following tire tracks is not the best idea. It's much better to read your road book and then confirm with tire tracks that you are going in the right direction, not
because you might follow some idiot who is just as confused as you are.
Yeah. Or
exactly.
Yep. And there's a few sections where people got very lost, and I got very lost because of the lost people that I decided to follow.
Right.
But the first day it started it, and I was so nervous. And as soon as I took off and started riding, I was like, nope, this is great. I'm loving life. And aside from getting lost, I felt like I rode really well the whole day. There was some really technical sections, and specifically like hill climbs with baby head rocks, and that the bike worked well. I call it a point and shoot bike. I can't tell you how many people I passed on hills that were just off into the cactus because their bike would just bobble going up these really rugged, chundery hill climbs.
Right.
And the cove, I felt was just amazing. And I do have a reasoning for that, a theory behind why I like it so much.
Because I kind of think all 450s are the same, like all
Right.
motocrossers are the same, or all 600 Japanese sport bikes are the same.
Yeah.
But you're saying there's
so
in
this rally, what we saw wasn't, not everybody's racing rally replica bikes. So the rally replica bikes, you look at the KTM or a Fantic rally bike, they tend to have those drop down tanks and a larger tank, and just be more equipped for rally racing.
The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. The cars you'll find on eBay are just different. They come with a story that you can't wait to share. Maybe it's the car's history or the story of how you found it. Like this 1973 Dodge Charger on eBay that had been tucked away in an Arizona barn for over 40 years, only 55,000 miles, and somehow in great running order. It even has a rare sunroof. Suddenly, a car that was hidden for decades is uncovered on eBay and ready to be delivered straight to your driveway, thanks to eBay's Secure Purchase, the new seamless and secure way to buy your next car. In just a few clicks, the title and DMV paperwork is all handled for you. There are thousands of cars like this on eBay, from rare finds like the Pontiac Grand Prix SJ to unique builds to your next daily driver. And now, a seamless way to buy them. eBay. Things people love. So how did you do after the 6 days and all this mileage? So
this is actually a bit of a crazy story, Neil.
Okay.
So this might take some time.
That's all right.
So first day, rode really well, got lost a few times. I was pretty pumped on myself. I had done well. I didn't crash out the whole day, and it was 1.5 kilometers from the finish, and I was, maybe a little bit complacent, and ended up going through an old riverbed and smashed my front end into a baby head rock that threw me down over the bars down on my right side. And I was really winded. I was sore. I didn't quite know what had happened to me, but I was pretty dazed. And luckily a mechanic or a paramedic wasn't too far behind. So he helped me get up, and I was just adamant, I have to finish stage 1 at least. Like, I've gotten here. I didn't really know what was going on, but I'm like, I was so close. I just need to finish this stage. So I finished. As soon as I got back to where we were staying, I kind of crawled off the bike. My ribs and my whole side was in a lot of pain. So anyways, luckily they have great medic support there. I got checked out, and one of the medics is actually an orthopedic surgeon, who specializes in shoulder stuff. So he assessed my shoulder, and I had separated it. Luckily, it wasn't a grade 3, so I didn't have the full step down, but it was a partial step down separation. And I just asked him, am I going to do more damage if I keep riding with it? Because I'd really like to finish this race, and it was day 1, and I didn't want to quit yet. So he said, no, I mean, it'll hurt a lot. I don't know why you would want to race with that, but it's shouldn't do more damage. So I said, great, cool. And so day 2 came, and the organizers had spoken a lot about how attrition plays a lot into this strategy of getting through a rally. And I didn't quite understand that until I started thinking about if stage 2 was going to be a long day, and the afternoon there was a neutral section within the stage, but the second half of the stage would be pretty difficult and rocky from what I had heard. And so the attrition of just understanding that you might need to take some steps back to be able to finish the whole thing. And that even though it's a competition, you can't compete all the time. And sometimes you just need to make your way through. And that became very true, especially.
So you need they correct me if I'm wrong, but they're saying essentially pace yourself, correct?
Yeah. And understand understanding that even though it's a race, if you race the whole time, it will be very hard to finish, as opposed to taking your time through the stage and not going, for lack of a better term, balls to the walls the whole time.
Right.
We get it. We're all competitive. But what we ended up seeing was the fastest guys within my class, at least, all got taken out by day 3, 4, or 5 because of a big crash or because of mechanicals. And actually, the winner of the rookie class that I was in was kind of an unsuspecting racer, like amazing rider, but was never in the top standings, just worked his way through and went through with no time penalties.
This is like the tortoise and the hare parable, isn't it?
Very, very much so. So it was,
right.
I mean, by the end of this rally, it had fully sunk in, but by stage 2, I was thinking, if I can get through this morning stage and take time penalties for the afternoon, I can rest, and it would give me a better chance to finish the whole rally. And so by that point, my goal was just to finish the rally. So I rode for the morning at the neutral zone. I ended up cutting out and just caught the finisher waypoint for the day. So I ended up taking 7 hours worth of time penalties. So I was not in the standings for anything, but I was still in the race, which was good. Day 3 came, and it was a really long day that we were supposed to have, but we were waiting to go, and there's probably 15 of us left waiting to go. And we just hear over the radio that we'll need a helicopter coming in for an evacuation. And when you hear that over the radio, especially a lot of us who were still waiting were the rookie racers or less experienced racers. And so hearing that, it really sinks in. There was a few injuries on the previous days, but nothing where we were all together and just waiting to go race. And there was an incident so close to the start line that we were all kind of stuck there, and we just had to hear the details over any details that we might have heard over the radio. So that start ended up getting held off by about 40 minutes because Jordan, who I had gone down with, ended up shattering his leg about 11 kilometers from the start. And it was handled really, really well. It was like I said, the Baja Rally has really great medical support, and they are efficient. They've done this for 13, 14 years now, I think, where they understand the value of time when you have an injury. And so our start was held off by about 40 minutes, and we all took off very hesitantly and very, it was just a somber tone that had taken over the starting of stage 3. And we ended up, because there were some racers that had already left that were so far ahead of us, the organizers realized that to offer good medical support would be very tough with how spread out everybody had become. So we ended up having a shorter day that day, and we stopped in Bay of LA that night to have dinner and then to start on stage 4 the next day. And it was great. I mean, Bay of LA was amazing. There's lots of stray dogs to pet, so I was very happy. But it turns out you're not really supposed to. The seafood is kind of iffy there sometimes, and that was something that nobody had told me, or a few other of us. So we ate dinner. We woke up the next morning, and some of us felt a little bit off, but it was manageable. And that day, that stage was really fast. It was a long stage, but it was fast sand roads that had berms on them. These incredible ridgeline vistas that you'd come up. And I remember coming up over one of the ridges that day and just seeing off in the distance this tail of dust that was ahead of me, another rider. And there's something so incredible when you realize that, there is other riders out there, because sometimes you do the whole stage and you don't really see anybody. You might be by yourself the whole time. You don't know if you're going the right way. You don't know if you're the one who's lost and everybody else is back home yet.
Which is not how you think about it, because I think it's, and I always think, having never done one of these, I guess because you see photographs at the beginning, you kind of think everybody's together. Mm-hmm. Did you have that misconception as well?
No, I think one of the things that drew me to this rally, or to rally racing in general, was the fact that you are on your own. Right. It was that added level of challenge with the navigation and understanding that there is no course flagging. You don't know where your endpoint is. You just, as long as you follow that road book, or as long as you can understand what the directions are telling you, then you should get to the place where you're supposed to be. But if you don't, then you need to find your way back. And so I think that was a really interesting point that I had loved. But I won't lie, every time I saw a dust cloud or a dust trail with a bike, immediately my mind went back into competition. And so out of navigation road, it's like, or out of its navigation role, it's like, nope, let's go chase this person. Let's try to catch up to them. It's such a change of pace that you go through with the mentality of your riding throughout each day from moment to moment. And throughout stage 4, me and my friend CJ were actually kind of back and forth throughout the day. So I had passed him in more kind of technical rocky stuff. And then the afternoon, when we had gotten onto this big sand road, he had passed me. And so it was kind of interesting how you have this, you have riders that you end up sticking together a little bit more, but at times you won't see anybody, and you might not see anyone for 4 hours, and you just hope that you're on the right path and you didn't take a wrong turn 150 kilometers ago and you're following these directions to nowhere.
But is that not distracting? Because I know when I go road racing, it's pretty easy to follow the path. But I would think something like that. I mean, it's one thing to ride, and of course you're in this terrain and you haven't pre-ridden it, so you don't know what to expect.
Yeah. And
of course it can change any day to day anyway. But this idea that you're reacting to the terrain and you have to know where you're going. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for the brain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot going on. And I mean, sometimes you'll get a note that's maybe it says like at kilometer 187.82, you take a bearing of 73 degrees and you follow that bearing for 2 kilometers. There might not be a road there. There might not even be a trail. You might just
God, I'm lost already.
Yeah, there's something so intriguing about that side of things for me, because I like riding, but I'm also pretty ADHD. So if I can do something else while I'm riding, that becomes even more exciting for me, I guess. So I think like I really enjoyed it. And by this point, I had gotten quite confident with road books. I mean, being able to just experience it and to ride a road book is the best way to learn it in my mind, especially after doing this.
And how's the pain at this point in the shoulder?
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah. So this day actually, I'd been using lidocaine on my shoulder, which was kind of like a numbing cream. So it was a bit better, but I had gotten a shot. It had become really, really painful. And I had it taped up, but I couldn't lift it. Every day I'd be putting my hand onto my handlebar because I didn't have the strength to lift up my shoulder anymore.
Was it your right or left?
It was this one. Yeah, my right shoulder. And I've had this one rebuilt before. So I have bone moved around and muscle moved around in this one. So I was quite worried that it would have done some other damage, but luckily it didn't.
Okay, so where are we? We're on the 4th stage?
We're on 4th stage. Sorry, yes. Okay, so we ride. It was a hot day. We get done, and there's a few of us who are starting to feel a stomach bug at this point. And it had gotten to the point where I couldn't really eat anything. I was just trying to keep fluids down. But I just prayed for a solid shit, to be honest. I mean, it was just bad. And luckily the organizers recognize that this is kind of a Baja thing. You get cactus, you get lost, and you get diarrhea. And so I was doing pretty good. I already got a couple cacti in me. I had gotten lost multiple times, and now I had diarrhea. It was like the
all I can say is sign me up.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. And so anyways, luckily the organizers had some Imodium for stage 5, and I got some of it. They ended up running out, so some of the racers didn't. And at the start line, I thought it was quite comical just seeing racers kind of one by one just kind of disappear to run and find the smallest bush, or to go ride their bike a kilometer away because they had to go to the washroom. So anyways, we were riding. I felt pretty good. I had Imodium. My stomach had stopped grumbling. I was doing okay. I was riding kind of all right. I know I was pretty exhausted by that point without having any food in me for about 24 hours. And then I forgot not to trust a fart, and I farted. And I can tell you, as an adult, yeah, it doesn't feel great when you start feeling like a toddler, like you should have worn a diaper for the ride that day, because having to stand behind a cactus and try to wipe yourself up, not enjoyable and not fun for other racers who are going by while you're trying to hide behind a cactus. So luckily I had brought some toilet paper because I was nervous that this might happen. And anyway, so needless to say, it was a pretty shitty start to the day, and it only got worse. So again, on this stage, we had 2 different sections with a neutral zone in between. And I get into the neutral zone. I was riding, and I got lost. I got lost on a neutral zone with very easy navigation, and finally found the gas station I was supposed to go to. I go to get to past the neutral zone to go through to the start of the stage again, and I got lost again. And I couldn't comprehend what was happening to me. I couldn't understand that these mistakes I was making were because of something else instead of just my own error and overlooking and lack of focus. It was because I was starting, my mental state was deteriorating quite quickly. And so anyways, I get to the start of the stage. I get into the times section again. I think there was about another 200 kilometers to go of that day. And I think within 5 minutes, I got lost 3 times on the road book again. I couldn't make sense of the directions. I couldn't understand where I was. I just couldn't comprehend things. And my mental state had deteriorated so much that I couldn't tell what was happening to me. So it wasn't until I got to a point where I saw very clearly that people had turned around there because it was the wrong way. And it was a steep hill down into this kind of canyon-y area. Really, really beautiful. It looked like there was a great single track down there, but there was no tire tracks. And I decided that was the right way to go, even though I knew there was no tire tracks, and I saw the turnarounds at the top. So I dropped down into this kind of canyon. And then I thought, this probably isn't the right way, but there is another drop down. And so I dropped down into the second kind of step into this canyon. And as soon as I started going down there, I couldn't stop the bike from dropping down into this very tight, narrow kind of canyon with just silt and big baby head rocks everywhere, like no traction. And so once I was down there, I realized that I had really messed up. I was like, I need to get myself out of here. I don't think there's any other riders coming, and I don't know if any riders would even see me because nobody would go down that area.
Now,
So,
do you have a beacon of some sort on so they can find you? You do.
Yes.
Okay.
So our rally comp device that is given to us, every racer has one, and that is the device that it tracks your location, but it also will let you know when you're within an area to catch a waypoint. When you're coming up to speed zones, it'll let you know if you get a time penalty. And it's basically the little computer, the race computer that tallies everything up. It's your information box.
Right.
So the organizers could see where I was. But I didn't know how they would help me at this point without sending out multiple people and me waiting hours for
So you're at the bottom of this ravine in silt and it's shitty. And what do you do?
Well, first I tried to ride the bike back out, which the run-in was, I had a run-in of just the bike length because the way that it was kind of butted up against another canyon wall, and it was just silt and rocks. And so I got the bike about halfway up, and I ended up getting off the bike. I laid it on its side, and I left it there. And I decided I was going to walk through the canyon in hopes that it would lead to a beach, because that was my only option at that point. And after about 1 kilometer of walking, luckily it did lead to a beach. So that was good. I realized that I could at least get to a beach, get to some open area, and hopefully find a way out from the beach. So I turned around the bike again and rode through this very tight, rocky, silly canyon that I had put myself in. And the walls were going through the canyon. The walls became 30, 40, 50 feet tall. And you're just riding this kind of narrow walled area. And got out. And we also, as racers, we all get satellite phones to be able to have communication with the organizers in case something goes wrong. So this is really good for medical and mechanical stuff. But when I got out, I radioed the organizer, and I just said, I hope you're proud of me for where I ended up. And they kind of chuckled, and they said, we thought we were going to have to send in a helicopter to get you out of where you had put yourself into. And I told them at that point, I realized that I couldn't think straight. I realized that.
So you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, your mental capacity is just.
It was,
yeah.
I had severe dehydration, and which had turned into heat exhaustion, which ended up turning into heat stroke. So by the end of the day, I physically and mentally couldn't couldn't focus. I had no strength. I had no comprehension of what was really happening. And to the point where, so the paramedics came and helped me get back out to the road so that I could ride back to the hotel and cut out the last part of the race. And I was so cold. I asked them for a jacket, and it was 33 degrees. And I was just, I didn't understand what was happening.
So 33 Celsius, so 100, almost 100 Fahrenheit.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. Yes. Sorry, Canadians. Hi. We are Canadian. I don't do Fahrenheit very well. Anyways, yeah, I got back to the bivouac, and I just went into my room. I pulled the covers over and I shivered for 2.5 hours. And I told the organizers, when the paramedics are back, if they could come in and see me and help me. And so that night, when the paramedics came, I wasn't in good shape. I couldn't hold a conversation. People were saying that my face was kind of hollowed out. And so the paramedics ended up putting me on IV for 4.5 hours because I was so dehydrated. And that, along with a few other different medicines, just to help get my fluids back up, be with my shoulder injury. It had taken so much out of me, just in terms of energy wise, dealing with the shoulder pain, and then to have the stomach bug and then turn into heat stroke on top of that. So that was a rough day, and there was one more day left. And by this point, I was like, I've been through enough. I am going to finish this race. Like, there's no doubt about it. Not going to go through all of that just not to finish. So I woke up the next morning, and one of my buddies had picked up my road book for me. I didn't have a chance to pick it up that night because I was with the paramedics until about 9:30, and we race every morning between 5:45 and 7 a.m. is when we're leaving. So I was worried. I went to go get my road book in the morning, and my friend had already gotten it. He had marked it all up and then put it in my road book case for me. So all I had to do was get on the bike and ride, which was really, really awesome of him. So yeah, we did that, and luckily it was a pretty short day. That was probably actually my best day. I felt really good after all those electrolytes and being hooked up to an IV. So I ended up getting a top 10 standing that day for the last stage. But yeah, finished off the race and only pooped my pants once. I shouldn't say that. We'll leave that for another. But it was really interesting. So going back to the beginning about how few people, or how things can change at any moment. All of the top racers, the 2 really fast guys in my class, 3 really fast guys, sorry, all ended up getting massive time penalties because of mechanicals, or having to be disqualified from the race because of mechanicals or crashes. And so it was really interesting, again, when we saw the final standings, and it was that just a steady pace and maintaining and riding clean is going to get you to the end a lot better than racing the whole time.
Wow. You really want to get your money's worth out of that entry fee, didn't you?
Sure did. Yep. I am a broke person, so if I can make the most of it, I will. I got the full Baja experience.
So now that you've done this, and of course, I'm a great believer in the worse things are in life, the better story you get out of it in the end, which of course, your story at Baja is a perfect example of that. So I'm enough of a racer to know that you went home, got yourself back into shape, and then thought, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next? What's next for you? Would Dakar be the ultimate? Do you even let your mind think that?
I try not to. I would be a liar if I said that I never dreamed of doing Dakar. That's a bucket list item. I don't know if that's ever a possibility for me, but I am very excited about doing some more rallies. I feel like I at least need redemption at Baja Rally, and I would like to do I would like to do more rallies. I will say that it is a bit of a buy-in cost, so it's a little bit more expensive than doing a dirt bike race.
Can you tell me how much it was?
So I think with all of my fees, and then not including the bike, but with travel and my registration and hotel fees and whatnot, I think it ended up coming to about probably $7,500 US to do all of it. And then you think about your bike, your training, everything leading up to that. So it's not the most large buy-in cost, but I will say for somebody like me who normally does, more local dirt bike races or travels on a budget, it's going to be something that I'm saving up for again to do right. I will, however, say that the Cove 450 is a great option because the purchase price on that bike is $12,500. And I did barely anything to it to make it my rally race bike. I bought a rally tower for it for $120. Threw on an old road book case, my control unit and remote. Those weren't too expensive. And then the only other things I changed with that bike was I swapped out the ECU. I changed out the airbox, and then I put a different pipe on it, just so that all those three worked cohesively together to give it a little bit more pep, and make it feel a little bit more aggressive while racing it. Whereas some rally bikes, if you're looking to buy a proper rally bike that's already built up, you're looking generally between $22,000 and $25,000 to get that done.
Right. Now, of course, I'm a firm believer that that the only way to gain experience with anything in life is to do it firsthand. You can have somebody tell you something a million times, you can read about it, and you can garner a fair bit of information, but until you've done something hands-on, you really are ill-prepared for most things in life.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. It can be raising a child or doing a rally. So next time around, I mean, fairly succinctly, what would you change? How would you approach it differently?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think this rally I did get quite lucky with bike maintenance. My bike ran very well, but a lot of other people had issues. I think I had a pretty comprehensive kind of pack list with me, but refining that a little bit and understanding that you could be, if you do have a mechanical or an entry, you could be stuck out there, especially with a mechanical, for an hour or two at least. And if you can fix that on your own, it can make the difference between you staying in a race and you being out. I think that I would go about it with trying to stay a little bit more level-headed. I get quite competitive, and I'm quite good at amping myself up. And I think that was, going back to stage one when I hurt myself, I remember doing those last few kilometers and thinking like, I've done it, I've made it. Like, it's just free time. It's an easy trail. And I got really complacent. And so, just staying level-headed with my mental state and understanding that just working through it piece by piece instead of thinking about the very end, and instead of focusing on all of that and just enjoying it. Because the other great thing about the rally, or any rally really, is that the road books are designed not to take you to shitty places. They're designed to take you to these amazing areas that we have that are pristine and relatively, unseen or untouched. There's so few people that get to see so much of this beautiful off-road and wilderness area that is in every part of the world. But a road book is kind of catered to take you to those best of the best places while having a fun time. So I think too, just understanding that it wasn't until stage 3 and 4 that I realized, oh crap, like, I'm riding in Baja. This is beautiful.
Right.
Why am I not stopping to take a picture once in a while? Because I'm riding for 6 hours straight or 7 hours straight hard through the most beautiful area. And so it wasn't until day 3 that I was like, I need to start enjoying this, because I'm taking it for granted right now. And this isn't that's not what I wanted out of this experience.
So tempering aggression, but I would also think that being more aware of your own body and your own condition.
Yeah.
Did you underestimate that first time around?
Very much so. I love first aid. I did search and rescue for years. I used to do ski patrol. It is something that's so ingrained in me.
So you should know better. You
I know.
Truthfully, correct.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I know the signs.
Yeah.
And sure, you know the signs, but to be able to recognize those signs on yourself when you're already at a depleted state is near impossible, I think. And like I remember I had talked to one of the organizers over the phone before I started that stage, because I was one of the last people to come in at that point. That was from me pooping my pants that I ended up last. But I came in and he videoed me to make sure that I wanted to do it, because it was a really long section still. And I said, yeah, I have to do this. I want to get through. And he said, are you okay? And I just kind of thought he was saying that in casual talk, but I think it was easier for other people to recognize. But I also think that it's very tough when you're in a race, you're in a competition setting, to have to go to somebody and be like, I don't think that you're doing the best. Like, I think that you maybe need to rest. Because as a competitor, I would tell them, no, I'm fine. I'm good. Like, I'm fine. What are you talking about? Of course I'm okay to race. Like, that's up to me.
Yeah.
Whereas, people had mentioned to me, like, yeah, you kind of seem a bit out of it. So I think that it's easier for other people to recognize. I had no clue until I was up Schitt's Creek.
What's next for you? Have you made it? You talked that you want to do some more rallies. Have you? Is there anything specifically you're planning on doing next?
So I haven't committed to anything yet. I'm not too sure what to do. I know that I have to plan my next big thing, and I think after Baja, what I realized is I'd focused this whole year on leading up to Baja. I had the TDN right before in Italy, and then straight to Baja. This was like the big month events. Once that was done, I didn't even think about what could be after. So once I got home from Baja, I kind of went into a bit of a withdrawal, just thinking about, wow, I didn't set anything else up for myself. I just had the most amazing life-changing experience, and now I'm back home and it's quiet and there's nothing to do, and I don't know where to put my efforts into next. So I'm looking at different rallies to do. I know a few friends are going down to do the SoCal rally, which sounds like a lot of fun. Otherwise, I'm like to commit to more enduro racing this year. So get back into enduro racing, and then do more cross training with trials as well. And I have not decided on my next rally, but there will be one. I am addicted. And if eventually in a couple of years that ends up at the big one, that'd be very cool. But I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Now, it's very unusual that I am the adult in the room here, but I feel like I should remind you that you do have a day job in a magazine.
Yeah. Well,
what do your mom and dad think of all this stuff?
They're surprisingly supportive. I don't know why. Mom, she still worries a lot, but I think she's kind of come to terms with the idea that I am going to do it regardless. And I hope that she has enough faith in me now to at least make some smart decisions. But I remember calling her after day one, telling her that I had separated my shoulder and bruised my ribs, and she just was like, "Oh, okay." And do you think that you should ride the next day? I said, well, no, but I'm going to, Mom. And so I think that luckily my parents are very patient with me, and They don't let me know how much they worry sometimes, but another great benefit of working with the magazine is that it also gives me an excuse to write about this experience and hopefully allow others to learn about it and understand a little bit more about rally racing and why it's such a great sport to get into.
You know, it's all content. As my partner at the time said to me the day that I rode home after hitting a deer, she looked at me and she said, well, at least you got something to write about.
I'm happy that we can be part of the deer hitting club. I've hit 2 over the years by bike, and it's not very fun.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for joining me. Please say hi to your folks for me.
I will.
And stay hydrated.
I will. I'm drinking lots of water now. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Neil. And check out Motorcycle Mojo.
Motorcyclemojo.com?
Yep.
Check Emily out at the family business. This message comes from eBay. The worst part about loving cars might just be buying them and all the parts. From Toyotas to Aston Martins, eBay has thousands of cars and the largest online selection of vehicle parts and accessories. eBay, things people love. For this week's product review, I'm going to talk about a product that I think should exist that doesn't exist in the marketplace. It's about building a custom motorcycle. It's what do you need? What is the one essential tool that you need to do it? It's not a workshop. It's not Snap-on tools. It's not a hydraulic lift for your bike. It's not even a show on the Discovery Network. All you need is one tool, and it's this. It's an angle grinder, because every custom that I've ever seen online starts with something being hacked off, usually the subframe, but sometimes they get carried away and just chop it to pieces. So have you ever noticed that there isn't any motorcycle-specific angle grinder? And I think about a customizer like Arlen Ness, including his son, who's a customizer, and his grandson, the late Arlen Ness, I should say, who was also a professional bowler prior to getting into motorcycles. But Arlen Ness was into snakeskin boots. So if Black & Decker took this, covered it in faux snakeskin, they could call it the Arlen Ness Customizing Angle Grinder. I think it would be a great idea. Of course, you have to license the name from the Arlen Ness Foundation, presumably. But then you can charge a premium. And who wouldn't want this? Because of course, motorcyclists were all very status conscious and style conscious, except for men who ride KLRs with milk crates, although that's kind of a thing in and of itself. So I shouldn't be too dismissive of that. Anyway, that's my idea. And I might reach out to Black & Decker to see what they think about it. The cars you'll find in eBay are just different. They come with a story that you can't wait to share. Like this 1973 Dodge Charger on eBay that had been tucked away in an Arizona barn for over 40 years. Only 55,000 miles. And somehow in great running order. It even has a rare sunroof. Suddenly, a car that was hidden for decades is being delivered in just a few clicks with eBay's secure purchase. All the paperwork handled. There are thousands of cars on eBay, from unique finds, like the Pontiac Grand Prix SJ, to daily drivers, and now with a new way to buy them. eBay, things people love. Thank you for listening to the Lowdown Radio Show.